Is this the same as Zoom?
What? That is Zoom.
That is Zoom, okay.
That is Zoom.
And can more than one person be on Zoom at a time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we've had Shansa normally on there, and Sandesh, and we've had several. I mean, they've watched it a few times. They weren't feeling good. Did you watch Zoom any?
I did, when I had COVID.
Yeah, so yeah,
Well,
you can
after
have a
I
whole
had
bunch
COVID.
of people in there. We pay, because if you don't pay, if you get the basic, you can only do like a less than that, like 45-minute sessions, which this is 2 hours. And I think you're limited to how many people you can have in your room. But it's like a classroom, honestly. It's really cool. It's a tremendous tool. Works really well.
so when people are tuned into Zoom, I'm assuming you mean at the exact same time. You can have people tuned into Zoom at the exact same time during the actual class. Is that what you meant?
Oh, yeah.
And would I use my laptop for that?
You can do laptop or a phone.
Phone is kind of little, no? Phone would be kind of...
Yeah, it would. It'd be hard to see at times. But audio's... Huh?
It's better on the laptop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now, is Helen the only one on Zoom right now?
Yes, right now she's the only one watching.
Okay. And you get to see
Every
her?
word she says.
Yeah, you can see her.
I can hear her too.
Well,
She
can you...
must be close to the speaker.
I am. I'm just like 4 feet away at that. So if you have other people on at the same time, how do you see everybody, or you don't?
You can. There'll be a line of them at the top, and then I can, if I wanted to, I can control which one I see on the big screen. Generally, I'm putting me on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
Where she is right now, you can switch that out. So you can put the one on top down on the bottom. So you can see it in a bigger...
I didn't see the ones at the top.
Yeah.
I think when you speak, like when there's multiple, it automatically changes.
Yeah, see,
It
this is...
automatically changes as to who's on the screen.
Okay.
Everybody's gone tonight.
Yeah. There's some people in here.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it works, but...
You can make it to where you can't be seen. If you're at home and you don't want to be seen, you can turn your camera off.
Oh,
And
good.
you can mute your sound so that you're not heard, you're only hearing what's happening here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. I don't mess with it that much, but I can switch that down if I wanted to. I can also put backgrounds that are not true, virtual backgrounds, so I can make it look like I'm at the beach.
I like that picture.
So it looks like I'm at the beach now. Let me see how I make that now.
I like that picture. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's where I want to be.
How do you make mute my audio? We're recording class and I'm sitting here messing with this. Pin. There you go. So you see what I did?
You're at the beach too.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can make it look like I'm in anywhere I want to be. Better change this or people will be like, why are you at the beach? You're supposed to be teaching. I know how to change it now. More. Choose virtual background and turn it off. None. There. All right, let's go ahead and get started. He'll be back in a bit. Is somebody else going? All right. We're pretty much done with the class. But I do want to discuss the ideas. What's the last star I gave you?
Page 133.
133? Seriously?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not done with the book. I thought I'd go beyond that. All right. Well, let's go ahead and pray and we'll get started, all right? Lord, we love you. Thank you for the day. Thank you for this the good class we've had. And for this one as well, I pray you'd help us, Lord, to understand better and do what your word teaches us to do as far as missions. Well, thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen. So, yeah, on page 134, so he's kind of complaining about the denominational model. The missionaries were accountable to the missions agency rather than their home or sending church. But in reality, a lot of missions boards, most missions boards to one degree or another, also have accountability to them of some type or another. And the churches give that authority to the board. They are, giving them permission. It's sort of like when you send your kids to play at their friend's house and you're giving their mom permission to watch them and to, make sure they behave and stuff like that. So that's sort of the way the missions board works for the church. But the problem with that is you might send your kids to somebody's house for the night, but you don't tell them, all right, you just keep them now and raise them. You can't do that. They're your kids. And so that's why we need to use a church, all right? Down on the third paragraph there, it says third, partnership involves more than finances. And we've talked about that a lot, and I think we're doing better as a church trying to be more involved in missionaries and making sure they know we care. They are the embodiment of the local church going global. We are required to go into all the world. That's what they do for us. So every church has to make their own choices, their own decisions. And when we say we want to do more for missions, I don't mean like more money. That's where our mind goes immediately. Oh, he wants us to give more money. No, more. More of yourself, more time, more effort, more attention. What can I do more to be a blessing to a missionary than I'm doing already? And one of the best ways is just keep in contact with them. Most missionaries nowadays are either on Facebook or they have some kind of other, system of keeping contact, like email or, whatever. I don't know what they all are, LinkedIn or whatever else. So anyway, no matter which model a local church uses, I'm reading on 135, the first full paragraph at the bottom of the paragraph. No matter which model a church uses, they must decide if they will simply be a missionary supporting church or a missionary partnering church. And I want to be more of a partnering church. And I've been really challenged by this book. And it's something I want to really talk to our deacons and trustees more about. What can be our goals? Where do we want to go with our missions program? One thing I'd like to see is God call more of our own people out that we can send. A lot of churches don't have a missionary that they have seen in their church get saved, raised up, trained, taught, and then sent to a mission field. We're thankful we do. And we have that. What a blessing that is. There's a star on 135, the second full paragraph. It says, fourth, partnership is participation in missions. Then the star begins. Missions is not what the church does for the missionary, but what the church does through the missionary. That's a star. Missions is not what the church does for the missionary, but what the church does through the missionary. So the missionaries are extensions of our church. They are like an arm, or if you want to look at it like an octopus, they're a tentacle. So we want to be more missions minded. One of his, you guys remember his idea, his ideal program for deputation would be that they would only go to a handful of churches, get their support, and go, and they'd support them for a lot more. One thing I do like about that idea of having fewer missionaries is maybe they could spend more time with the church. But it's difficult on both sides. I was reading, I think it was in this book actually, that missionaries wish that preachers would be more understanding that they have I was watching you guys fight with you.
We're working as a
They
team
have-
to keep this book together.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. It tickled me a little bit. But they have things like they've got to do their classes, they've got to have their homeschooling for their kids, and things like that. And a lot of missions conferences they go to, it's like every day there's activities, and they expect all the missionary and their family to do it all. And then missionaries or preachers want the whole missionary family to come to every meeting and this, that, and the other, and it's just a lot for a missionary to do. So being more understanding of a missionary, that's one of the reasons why I went from going, we used to have 1 week conferences where we would have missionaries, and every night we'd have meeting, and we'd have 4 or 5 missionaries or a speaker throughout the week. But I really like what we've done, because that missionary is our focus for the day. And we spend the day with them, we fellowship with them. And by the way, I really like the way it went with the classes doing the afterglows. That was really good. Everybody went above and beyond what I expected. I did not expect all the decorating, and that was cool to see. It really blessed my heart to see that. So anyway, I do like some things about his idea, and I think we can take some of the thoughts and implement them in our church and use them. But a change in our philosophy will mean a change in policy. We're going to have to do some things different in order to achieve what we want to do. So let's just do a little bit of discussing, okay? We're not making plans or decisions. I just want some thoughts. What do you think is an ideal number of missionaries to support?
For how many in the church?
Well, for our church.
Okay, for this church.
I mean, every church would be different. It would depend on the church and their size and income, and different places in America would be a little different because some people don't make a lot of money. But in this church, and by the way, what do you think would be a good number for us?
I like where we've been, because we have our hand in so many parts of the world.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it. I like the fact that we have missionaries scattered everywhere. They are in all the world preaching the gospel.
I always thought it was cool, especially when we kept getting more and how small we are.
But what he's pointing out here is the effect that has on a missionary. So when they come home, if they have, which there's a discrepancy. He says that the boards say average supporter or average missionary has 60 supporters. Where the missionaries replied, the average was 40-something. But still, you have 40-something churches you've got to visit. We try to do our deputation in 9 months. I recommend a missionary takes a full year. But let's say he comes home, he spends a month at his home church, then he goes out. He's got to visit 40 to 50 churches in a year. And then he's got to start way ahead, planning, calling these churches to see if he can get them on a certain schedule. Because otherwise he's got to, crisscross the country. So there's a lot of things that he's pointing out in these ideas. And his thought, and I like you said, I like that we support 80 missionaries all over the world. But I think, too, another drawback is we can't support them for a lot. I think $100 is probably max what we could do with 80 missionaries right now. Now, through time, if the church grows and people give better or whatever, maybe we could get up to 150 a piece. I think that'd be tremendous. But just like we are having more trouble with our grocery shopping and our gasoline, so are missionaries. So they need a little more, right?
So where was your idea of supporting them at $200 a month? Where does that fit in? I can't remember which.
Well, I think it would, it's sort of a thought that is it better to support more missionaries? So we can't do everything, but is it better to have 80 missionaries at $100, whoops, $100 a month, or have 40 missionaries at $200 a month? That's the point he's making in this book. Now his point is, you bring it all the way down, he says, well, let's just say for sake of this, 10 missionaries. So if we're doing, okay, mathematicians, if we're doing 80 for 100 a month, then half of that would be 40 for 200 a month. How much could we support 10 missionaries for?
It's 600,
600?
maybe.
Are you going by what he said in the book?
No, I seriously think it's 600.
600?
Maybe.
800?
No,
800.
800?
That's Cincinnati Public School Education.
Thank you, Jason.
Glad to see you pass.
So you see the ideal here. You see what's going on is the fewer you support, the more you can support them for. Now, personally, I do not like this one. Why? Mainly because if something happens that we can't support them for 800, or we have to drop them entirely because the church, somebody splits the church and everybody leaves and we don't have money, then they lose 800 bucks. I know me, in my budget, I couldn't lose 800 bucks a month. If I lost 800 bucks a month, I'm gonna have to sell some stuff.
When it comes from 80 to 40 to 100 to 200, we can't tell the missionaries how many other churches they can have. We can
Exactly.
do $200 a month and they'd still have 40 places to go.
It's true. But if they're trying to get, let's say where's an eraser in here? Nobody has erasers?
On top of the cabinet.
He's drawing fishing hooks. So let's say he says 6,000 is the average that a missionary is trying to get per month for his living expenses and the ministry. So he's doing it for both. So 2, 4, 6. So that's 30%, isn't it? No, I'm not good at math, honestly.
Ask Jason.
What-
Jason, like if we supported for 200, is how many percent of 6,000?
Doing the calculation.
2 will go into 6,000.
So 3,000. 2 times 3,000 is
Okay, I don't mean
6,000.
2, I mean 200.
Okay.
So it's 30. So he'd need 30 supporting churches at 200 a month. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now again, I only needed 2,500, so we didn't have near that many supporters. But his idea is if you're doing it for 800 or even 900, it's even less than that. And so, I mean, if you did it, let's say 600, if he had churches doing 600, well, obviously, that's the best. That's just, what, 6 churches?
No,
600 would be
10.
10 churches is all he'd need. That's what I meant. 10 churches is all he'd need. So like you said, you can't dictate to them how many churches support them, but they just go out and get as many churches as they can to reach this figure. They're not concerned about how many that is. So according to this book, he said his polls he sent out, they said the average was around $100 per church. So if he needs 6,000 and he's only getting $100 per church average, well, that means he's going to need 60 churches, right? So what that means, though, is there's some churches that are paying more than 100, but there's surely some that are paying less than 100. So the average is average out 100. So, but if we could raise it to 200 per month for missionaries, it's going to greatly reduce his need to go out and get more support. And I think 200 is a good number. I don't, right now in the economy we're in, I wouldn't want to go much over 200. If I was a missionary, I would be nervous accepting $300, $400, $500 from one church if it's not my home church. Because again, what happens if that church collapses? Churches are not, you know, invincible.
So would that be your thought from us go to 80 to 40?
I'm sorry.
Would that be your thought then for us to go to 80 to 40?
No,
Or that's
we're
just
just
showing easy
talking.
math?
Yeah, we're just talking, you know, about what is the ideal support, you know, for a missionary. How many should we have if we're trying to raise the amount we're giving each missionary? I don't know. I've not talked a lot to missionaries, but he says he sent these out to missionaries. If you look in the back,
Yeah, this survey was pretty cool.
So on page 188, he talks about, this is the survey to missionaries. And it's, Jason, I know you read this, but this is something that will be helpful to you. I mean, how many churches did you call during deputation? Now, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go back and look at my books, but they said on average 925 Baptist churches they called on deputation to get the amount of meetings that they did. They visited an average of 168 churches, and 22% of the churches they visit did they get support from. So missionaries average 49 regular supporters, that's number 4. And then on number 6, what is the average monthly support of your supporters? They give an average of $110.90 per month. So if they've got 49 churches at $110 per month, 111 if you round it up, you know that's, huh?
It'd be right around 500.
Yeah. So it's less than what he says is the average that they say they need. I think that's high, honestly. I think this is inflated because of mission boards. The mission boards inflate that number because they want some money back for themselves. In a lot of mission boards, that's how one way that they fund themselves is they take a percentage of the missionary support.
It's also going to dictate the country they're going to.
Yeah.
Because Mexico is cheap, I'm sure Germany's
Exactly.
not going to be cheap.
No. Anywhere in Europe's not cheap.
How much of a percent did they take?
It depends on the board.
Oh.
Everyone's different. Some of them take a percent of each check. Some of them charge a fee to process each check, so it's like $1 or $2 per check. But you figure, if you got 49 churches that support you, and you're charging $1 for processing fee per check, that's $49 a month coming out of the missionary support to pay the board. So let's say they had 100 missionaries out of their board. I knew this whole class is going to be nothing but math. So, $50 for 100 different missionaries. What is that? 5,000 that they've made off of the missionaries. And I've always contended, what if you just let them keep that money and they just went through their church? There's thousands, literally thousands of dollars wrapped up in boards that could be going to the missionary. But anyway, so that's just some thinking. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm discussing it with the men. We'll talk about it. But I've always thought let's support as many as possible. Well, while that may be a good strategy, I think there's also something to say for let's at least support as many as we can for a good amount of money, not peanuts. I would not want to support, I don't know how many we could support if we only gave them 25 a month. A lot. We can support many, many missionaries, but are we really benefiting them? Not. we're making it harder on them, because now they've got to go out and raise $75 more from somewhere else. Do more traveling, spend more money to generate more income. So anyway, so it's just a thought. It's a thought process, and I think that he has got me thinking about it. Again, I don't like the 800 figure. I think it's too much for one church. It could really cripple the missionary. But I think even 250. But I think falling somewhere between 40 and 80 missionaries is more reasonable, more realistic. I don't think I want to go down to 40, but I could see us doing 50. So if right now we're doing 80 missionaries for 100 a month, get your calculator out. So we're supporting 80 missionaries for 100 a month. How much is that per month?
$8,000.
Yeah, I'm letting him calculate.
Oh, sorry.
For the entire year?
Yeah, 80 just for a month. $80.
Was $8,000.
$8,000. So we're giving $8,000 a month. That's how much we have that we're supporting, right? So let's put that figure down somewhere. Let's say we don't go up, which I hope we do, but let's say we stay at 8,000. That's going to be our giving per month. That's pretty good.
So $96,000 a year.
If you go back and look through the church things there, the interviews, the churches aren't given a portion, like a percent of that.
It's $96,000 a year. They're talking in the book that the average church gives $16,000 a year.
Isn't that crazy?
It's great.
So, all right, let's say per month, 8,000. If we supported 50 missionaries, how much would they get?
$160.
What do you think about that goal? We're still supporting quite a few missionaries. That's 50 countries. I'm not even talking about our ministries. We got 3 ministries here we support, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about missionaries. We're having 50 fields represented around the world is tremendous.
My biggest thing is what's the decision on cutting?
You don't. What you do is you wait for missionaries to leave the field.
And they said, what, 5 of them, now we know that's leaving?
Yeah. So instead of replacing them, you take the money that we're keeping back, we're saving by not